those of you who continue to say that the white man wrote the Bible, you're even more misinformed than the others. So if the white man got here 6,000 years ago, only 6,000 years ago, and Moses gave the 10 commandments to the children of Israel over 20,000 years ago, your math is not adding up. Because basically what you're saying is that the white man is so smart that he can write something that was prophesied 20 to 30,000 years before he was even on the planet. And you so call a conscious Negro, all black and everything, but you giving something this powerful to your oppressor? You stupid. And I'm going to tell you that. And this is why the children of Israel will remain in captivity. Because you have these Negroes, these Negro devils, but what I'm going to call them is Negro opinions, who are pretending to be pro-black, but really they're spreading European rhetoric. You see, this is going to lead us into our next topic. Children of Israel, Judah, you must begin to understand who your enemies are. See, our biggest problem is coming into consciousness, we were only taught one enemy. And that enemy was the Edomites, or the Caucasian, or the white man. We were not taught about our domestic enemies. And so now for 500 years, our domestic enemies have been blending in with us. Blending in with us, pretending to be us because they look like us, pretending to act like us because they look like us, and pretending to be down with us because they look like us, where really they work for the enemy. Or the man that is coming against the word of God, which in this case, that is the enemy. The man that is coming against the word of the Most High God of Israel. You are the enemy. White or black, you are the enemy. So with that being said, 6,000 years ago, they get onto the planet. But more than 20,000 years ago, the tablets were given down to the children of Israel. And before even the white man was even on the planet, African kingdoms ruled 8 to 1,000 years in different various kingdoms. He didn't come onto the scene until way later in society's advancement. So for you to give a book that is backed up by not just this one, it is backed up by the Quran. See, those of you who claim to read the Bible and claim to read the Quran, you possibly couldn't have. Because they basically say the same thing. You couldn't have. You're a liar. You're a devil. You're a deceiver. And I'm going to call you out. And if you're offended by this video, 9 times out of 10, it's because it applies to you. Because only a hit dog hollers. So, children of Israel, black people. I see black people get on Facebook every day complain about racism. Complain about racism. And I always offer a solution. Do something about it. Let's create this. Let's create that. Oh, you sound like an extremist. You sound like an extremist. Wait a minute. I thought you want to be free now. There ain't no tipping, tapping, dancing, dancing with freedom. If you playing with freedom, you a fool. And a lot of black people are playing with freedom. And I'm going to call you out. Because all of us want to be free, but we can't do it without all of us. But the problem is 2/3 of us is destined to die. Which does bring us into our next thing. Inside of our black community, and I said this in my last video, when a white man went into Africa, matter of fact, before we get into that, here's a good note. It just came to me. See how the Lord works? Right? Any given moment, the spirit. This is why he says, and sometimes before I give a video, I think about a lot about what I'm going to say. But the Lord continues to say, don't think about it. I give it to you at the time. So in this time, we know we're in this Bible. So for those of you who continue to say that the Europeans wrote the Bible, here's another example to prove that they didn't. If they would have written the Bible, then all of the prophecies that were written thousands and thousands of years before the earth was even created, they would have been able to write. No human being can do that. If they also wrote the Bible, when they went into Africa to kidnap you, they had to decipher. They needed to send scientists and priests and preachers to decipher this book, just so they can reinterpret it and sell it back to you in a slave. See, the problem is when you say the reason you say the white man wrote the Bible is because it was used during slavery. But the reason why you say that is because you have no understanding, you have no knowledge, you have no discernment, there's no spirit or truth in you, so you cannot discern how he took your book and used it against you. So you're what a stupid man does, he lumps it all together. Because you have no discernment. And I've given videos on discernment. It shows this how many people who watch my videos don't even comprehend what is being said. So when we look at the Negro tribes in America, everybody is not black. And this is what the Europeans did when they lumped everyone as black. And there's laws. There's laws that help them do that. The Sterilization Act is one of them. See, these are things that prove that this book is ours. But y'all forget all that knowledge. Because you're the devil. So you don't care about the knowledge. All you care about is bashing this book because you're the devil. Those Kemet people, we're going to get in that because they're the devil. They're the devil. That's why God sent plagues on them fools. He sent plagues on them. And that's where we're about to get into our domestic enemies. Here we go. So, like I gave in my last video, I've been in the hoods all throughout America. Richmond, Chesapeake, all throughout Virginia, Arizona, Colorado, Ohio. And they all have the same theme. The same theme. They're godless. They're godless. Also, you will find 2 to 3 different Negro tribes in those hoods too. Right off the back, you're going to find 3. You're going to find the Negroes, you're going to find the Kemites, you're going to find the Egyptians, you're going to find the Haitians, the Hittites. You're going to find which the Haitians would be the Levites. So you're going to find the Levites, the Hittites, the Canaanites, the Israelites. You're going to find all these different tribes inside one community. But since you Negro, you have no knowledge, you have no understanding, you have no discernment. You call them all African American because that's what the white man told you to do. But meanwhile, you're bashing the Bible saying the white man wrote it while you're taking his lies and living them as truth. That's double-faced hypocrisy. Not only is it double-faced hypocrisy, it is ignorance that is continuing to destroy the black community. So in all hoods, I have seen black ignorance that has destroyed its own community without the white man's help. See, we must begin to understand and realize why we are continuing to be judged and oppressed by the Most High God. So, the Kemites, the Hittites, and the Canaanites. I said it in the last video. When Moses went into the land of Canaan, God told him to kill all those tribes because they were worshiping false gods. They were worshiping Egyptian gods that they made with their own hands. They were worshiping all these false idols. And then the Europeans come in and take those false gods, claim them as his own. And you, since you have no discernment or no knowledge, you say, well, they're all his. You give it all to him. You're stupid. You're stupid. So all of you Negroes bashing the Bible, and this video is only intended to those, it's intended to educate and teach. To those who continue to bash the Bible, it is to prove you wrong. Because you bash the Bible, but where's your proof? See, I provide you proof. And that's what you don't do. See, only a fool wants to be right. A wise man just wants to be in power. A fool wants to be right. Because that's what this Bible is about. It's about power. Who is going to rule over who? And that's why the Europeans took it. So that's the thing. So we have these enemy tribes in our community. And they're mingled in among us. And we can't tell the difference between the two. Because we have no knowledge. And the thing with black people is, and there was a white man who told me this in Virginia. Because I was dabbling with the politics, trying to run for council and whatnot. He told me, he says, man, being a black activist has to be the hardest thing. I said, why is that? He said, because your people are stupid. They're insanely stupid. And I took offense to that in the beginning. But as I raised in consciousness, I realized, man, this man can't be, he telling the truth, man. These niggas not smart at all. We say, oh, the white man wrote the Bible, we don't want it. But yet here you are in his Gucci, his Grata, wearing his purses, wearing his weave, wearing his shoes, wearing his clothes, driving his cars. Most black people, when I walk through your community, you can't even speak. Matter of fact, some of you are so wicked, you running across the other street, you so wicked, you wicked Negro. Some of you are so wicked that you kill your own. You are a wicked Negro. And that's who I'm coming to today. You wicked Negroes. I'm talking to you today. So, Negroes, you don't even speak to each other. You walk down the street, I speak to some of y'all, and y'all don't even want to speak. You wicked Negro. You don't even speak to each other. You want freedom, but you can't even speak to each other. You want freedom, but you can't even support and help each other. When a young teacher is coming up, you bash him and you criticize him. When Malcolm X was coming up, y'all hated Malcolm X. Y'all bashed Malcolm X until he got big. And then you rode his coattail, like Negroes do. Same with Martin Luther King. Same with every other young little teacher that's coming up, that's destined for greatness. You bash him, you criticize him until he gets big. Then you go be like, hey man, we always supported you. No, you didn't, you lying Negro. You wicked Negro. See, all my videos, I call out the white people for their hypocrisy and their ignorance. But today, I'm dealing with you Negroes. So, we're going to have all these enemy tribes in our communities, and they're blending in with us. Most of the gangs are those enemy tribes. They're not even Negroes. They're freaking Kemites or Egyptians. See, you have been oppressed by your enemy in Egypt. See, God delivered you out of Egypt, but he delivered you back into Egypt. And see, what he did was, not only did he deliver you to the Edomites, he delivered you to all of your enemies. The Hittites, the Canaanites, and the Kemites. There are enemies, man. There are straight enemies. There are straight enemies. There were our slave masters in Egypt. So when white people be like, yeah, black people had slaves, this is what they're referring to. But out of no knowledge and out of ignorance, they don't know how to name it. So they just call it slavery. But this is what they are referring to when we were in Egypt, Israelites, Judah, and the 12 tribes, and we were oppressed by the Egyptians. And who were the Kemites as well, blending in with them. This is why if you talk to any Kemite, they always go back to the Egyptian gods, the Egyptian knowledge, the Egyptian ways, the Egyptian this and the Egyptian that and the Egyptian this, because they're still worshiping those false gods. And that's why God is plaguing all of your communities. But we blame it on a white man. And the white man is that God already told you, hey, look, he told us in Deuteronomy. He said, hey, look, if y'all don't obey my commandments, I'm going to bring an enemy from the far north as swift as the eagle flieth. And this enemy is going to be so bold. This enemy is going to be so strong. He's going to be so sophisticated. And he's going to do whatever the heck he wants with you. If he wants to kill you today, he's going to do it. If he wants to feed you tomorrow, he'll do it. But God said, you don't obey my commandments. I'm going to send this enemy your way. And this enemy is going to put you in chains. This enemy is going to kill your babies. This enemy is going to feed you to gators. This enemy is going to cut your skulls open and take your brains out and do tests on it. This enemy is going to break your fetuses. This enemy is going to oppress your young. This enemy is going to burn your communities down. This enemy is going to do all these things. But here the white man is doing all these things. And you niggas still won't believe in the Bible. He's did all these things. Still to this day, he's taking Negroes that serve overseas that are dead. He brings their bodies back over here to America. He cracks their skull open. He does research on their pineal gland. He breeds them of their melanin, and he ships their carcass off back to the family. That's what this white man does. But since you Negroes have no knowledge, you allow him to do it. And then you scream oppression. You march in the streets like little punks. Give us rights. Give us humanity. And your God already told you what to do. But since you listen to these dumb Negroes like the Kemites, these dumb Negroes like the Hittites, these dumb Negroes like the Canaanites. Next thing we're going to touch on is, niggas say this: I'm a real nigga. Really? What does that even mean? Because those who claim they're real nigga, they're liars, they're thieves, they're cheaters. They have a good woman at home and they're cheating on her with 3 different other women. They're banging on each other, shooting each other dead in the middle of the street over fucking money with white men's faces on them. Those are the ones calling themselves real niggas. What? You wicked. You a devil. You a wicked Negro. And the white man is just laughing. You see, that's the main excuse he used. Well, black people kill black people. You gave him that excuse for him to use. You gave it to him. You made it easy for him to use it against you. Anytime a young brother is coming up, you Negroes hold him back. Suck him dry. You bash your leaders, you murder your leaders, you oppress your leaders, but then you scream that you want to be free. If you're not stupid, what are you? The next thing we're going to touch on is the minorities, because they're getting one up on you too, Negroes. The minorities, here's the game that they're playing with you Negroes. So the minorities know that they have African descent inside of them. They also know the Bible. But they decided not to claim being black. We're going to come up with a political term and call ourselves minorities. Therefore, we can get the benefits of being oppressed, but we are not considered black. So now they're taking your benefits. So the white man ain't the only one stealing from you Negroes. Since you have no knowledge, you have no understanding, you have no discernment. You don't know the word that you claim the white man took, even though it's been on the planet Earth way before he was here. Now, not only is the white man manipulating you, the minorities are too. Next thing we're going to touch on. I always said this saying, and I'm going to say it again. If you're not willing to die for what you call your truth, it is not your truth. Because the truth is a double-edged sword. You see, real truth is a double-edged sword. Meaning that it's going to pierce you just as much as it pierces your opponent. Because only through self-evaluation and self-reflection and self-purging can you accomplish the true understanding. And that's what I'm about to touch on next too. A lot of people, especially black people who call themselves real, while they're out here doing all this craziness, and every time they open their mouth, there's a curse word coming out. And I used to be one of those guys, and I realized working on it. I work on it each day, and each day, less and less comes out. Unless I'm really, really angry, then I'll probably cuss you out in every single thing. Yeah. But in any given conversation, you're just not hearing F this, F that, and nigga this, and nigga that, which is what I'm about to touch on now. It took me a long time to understand what white people were talking about when they say, well, if the word is so bad, why do you keep calling each other it? And I finally realized that, you know what? He has a great point with that. This is why I don't call myself a nigga. And this is why when I address my brothers, I don't call them niggas. I call them Israelites or brothers. But the problem is most of y'all ain't even brothers. Y'all some demons. So I can't even call you brothers. That's why I don't even say brother. But for you to continue, I don't care what justification you give to using it. I don't care what stipulations you put on using it. You shouldn't be using it against yourselves, period. 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 That's a sign of dysfunction right there. I saw a status on Facebook. A black man said that black people are our own worst enemy. And this is true. That claim is correct. And he was an Israelite. So to my Israelite brothers and sisters, we must begin to understand who our enemies are, and we must try to teach these Negro demons. If some can be reformed, some brothers are trying to learn. And to those brothers who are trying to come in and trying to understand and trying to learn, people are watching, and we will give you credit. We will give you credit. And not only will we give you credit, but the Most High God will begin to raise you among your enemies. He's going to bless you in front of them. And that's when Negroes get angry. They get envious. They try to envy you. I do a good video, and the Negro want to say some bad stuff about it. He want to say some bad stuff about it because you are jealous, envious Negro. You smell like butt beans and tomato juice. Negroes out here calling themselves real, and you can smell. I never seen so many foul-smelling Negroes in my life. Gosh, what is going on? And see, that's why I can't tell it. I can't even really be mad at. That's what a man was telling me yesterday. He said, brother, you can't really be mad at the white man. He said, you really can't even be mad at the white man. He's like, because look how these niggas is acting, bro. He said, you can't tell the difference between them or white man. They act like white men. You want to act like him, dress like him, talk like him, look like him, walk like him, eat like him, but then call yourself black. Nigga, you white. Excuse my language. Gosh, no, I did it. I did it. Yeah, I did it. See how programmed we are? We all are programmed to do that to each other, man. Jesus. Dude, you white, bro. You white. You white. You're not black, bro. You're black skin, white mind. And that goes into the breeding and all these different things in which they're still doing to this day. Wisdom is a principle thing. See? It's not about being right or being wrong. It's about principle in itself. And principle is the foundation. If you watch my last video, the 12 tribes unto the 12 disciplines unto the 12 disciples. Discipline, the foundation, principle is the foundation of all law. Of all law. Every law is based off principle. Now, what is that principle? Well, if you look at the law of the land is based off the Bible that the white man supposedly wrote. I'm going to laugh at you. You're stupid. You're stupid. Because the time frame doesn't even match your accusation. The time frame doesn't even match your accusation. You're giving claims. You're not giving facts. You're accusing. And that's what the devil does. That's what the deceiver does. So to my Israelite brothers and sisters and to the brothers and sisters that are